Respected Mr. Bhandari, Mr. Rawat, Mrs. Pai, Mr. Chadda, Mr. Thomas, Mr. Rawat, all the dignitaries on the dais. I also acknowledge the gracious presence of my colleagues, Mr. Arun Pasricha, Head Customer Services Department, Mrs. Sebastian, Ombudsman for the State of Maharashtra, Mr. Satish, Ms. Smita, Sri Ranjini, Mr. Kamle. At the outset, I'd like to thank the All India Bank Depositors Association for inviting me to this, their annual event. I'm deeply honored to be here today for the 10th MR Pai Memorial Awards, and it is with a sense of very great humility that I deliver this address. The memorial is a fitting tribute to Sri M.R. Pai, Crusader of Customer Rights, a Karma Yogi in the true spirit of the Bhagavad Gita, one who worked selflessly and without hope of reward, guided by the Gita's penultimate maxim, Karmanyeva Adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. The Indian edition of Reader's Digest 1995, which I read, featured him on its cover as M.R. Pai, champion of the consumer. He founded the All India Depositors Association, steered it for several decades, published depositor rights and customer services of banks and PHUs of the AIP. This award, I understand, was instituted very generously by the Punjab and Maharashtra Cooperative Bank, and it is apposite that the All India Bank Depositors Association was chosen to celebrate his life and commemorate his memory by conferment of this award. I am also delighted that this year's award has been claimed in the same spirit by another relentless crusader of customer rights, Ms. Sucheta Dalal. I understand that the process of selection is very rigorous, and I warmly compliment and extend very warm congratulations to Ms. Dalal and Mr. Devashish Basu, whose articles in Business Standard are often on consumers' protection. And I also congratulate Moneylife Foundation and all the volunteers present here on securing this prestigious award, which is a recognition of their untiring efforts and their unflagging zeal in the cause of the consumers. So congratulations, Sucheta and Devashish. As for the Reserve Bank now, let me tell you a bit about our mission. Our mission is of safeguarding stability and protecting customers, and this places customer protection at the very heart and the core of our work. We are mandated in terms of Section 35A of the Banking Regulation Act, which explicates the powers of the Reserve Bank to give directions in public interest, in the interest of public banking policy, and to prevent the affairs of any banking company being conducted in a manner detrimental to the interests of the depositors. So in a sense, consumer protection is at the very heart of the work we do. And this is a mandate we have been executing over the years. The issue of services rendered by banks dates back right to 1975 and before, even to the R.K. Talwar Committee, the Goikukpuria Committee of 1990. The report of the Narsimhan Committees, the first Narsimhan Committee ushered in financial sector reforms. We thought that they will spur competition and the invisible hand of the market will take care of all else. However, this is not true, as the world has now realized, and regulatory intervention and oversight are necessary. In a seminal and oft-quoted report, Dr. Rajan has stated, consumer protection is important. Not every household is fully cognizant of the transactions they enter into. While the line between excessive paternalism and appropriate individual responsibility is always hard to draw in a developing country like ours, it may well veer to a little more paternalism in interactions between financial firms and less sophisticated households. It is important to improve consumer literacy, the transparency of products that are sold, and in certain cases, limit sales of certain products in certain jurisdictions, especially if these have prudential consequences. So the Reserve Bank of India is proactively engaged in initiatives to further customer services, firstly by building a strong banking system, which enables access to financial services for all. Secondly, to enhance and expand the reach of the banking system, both in qualitative and quantitative terms, through micro-level supervisory processes and macro-level assessments, we institute measures to increase customer awareness and to ensure customer protection. We are not alone in this. The post-crisis financial sector is driven by the new paradigm of customer awareness, empowerment, and protection. The financial crisis has brought into very sharp focus the importance of customer protection, which underpins the stability of the financial system. As my mentor and guru, Dr. K.C. Chakravarti puts it, and I'm just going to quote exactly what he said. He said, "Let me raise a fundamental issue here. The financial sector is essentially driven by commercial intent, and the actions of service providers and the issue of consumer protection should be taken care of by competitive market forces. Why do we then discuss the issue of financial consumer protection? It is because the barriers to entry for the service providers in the financial sector, especially banking, are stiff. In view of regulatory restrictions on the number of market players, consumers are forced to receive services from a limited set of service providers. Furthermore, in view of rampant information illiteracy, the self-regulating market behavior does not work, especially for the poor and the vulnerable. And hence, ensuring consumer protection becomes a regulatory obligation. Indeed, I would go further and say it is the regulatory dharma of the central bank to protect the consumers to ensure financial stability. Customers need to be enabled to navigate the financial markets to make choices appropriate to their needs. There should be an ingrained suitability clause in all the products sold by financial services providers. Customers must be able to understand financial products appropriate to their needs and income streams and should be equipped with the knowledge and skills to measure and mitigate risk and make informed decisions about the suitability of financial products to their situation. There is no acme of customer service. The present experience of the customer must be better than the previous experience of the customer. That is the only watchword. To encourage a formal channel between the consumers and the customers, the branch level customer committees have been instituted, and we have said that senior citizens must be part of these committees, and this is an essential, should be treated as an essential feature of the corporate governance in the bank. Even a decade back in the year 2003-04, we had set up a committee under Dr. Tarapur. And that Committee on Procedures and Performance Audit of Public Services actually led to the establishment of the Banking Standards, Codes and Standards Board of India. Now, recently, we've taken a slew of measures for customer services. I will briefly tell you what these are. We've simplified the KYC measures. There's a single document, a single proof of identity and address. No separate proof of identity is required for the current address. We've relaxed the officially valid documents for low-risk customers. We insist on this periodic updation of KYC we've liberalized for low and medium risk customers and several other relaxations there. On home loans, their foreclosure charges and prepayment penalties have been dispensed with. Then we said that now that there is a core banking solution and you are no longer the customer of an individual bank but of the bank as a whole, why should there be a differentiation in these intersol charges between, there's no concept of home and non-home now. You are a customer of a bank and therefore you should get all the facilities which you would get at the bank branch at any other bank also. Then we've also said there should be reasonableness and equity in the charges which banks levy for the SMS alerts which they send. And there should be absolutely no penal charges on non-maintenance of balances in these inoperative accounts and other accounts. Then we've tried to simplify the settlement of claims of deceased depositors, and we've also placed these claim forms on the websites. Then we've tried our best to ensure that there are, in the cases of natural disasters, some of the people are declared missing. So how do we get about settling their things? So we said that all right, the letter of indemnity and simply a death certificate will do in this case so that they get everything that they require. Then there are minor things but which are very important to the customer, like the timely issue of a TDS certificate. All these things, then the need of bank branches, ATMs to be made accessible to persons with disabilities, talking ATMs with braille keypads to facilitate usage by visually impaired people. So we've been looking at all these things. And as part of consumer initiatives, the RBI has advised banks that they simply cannot levy penal charges on customers who don't maintain a minimum balance in the basic savings bank accounts. Banks should also not take undue advantage of customer difficulty or inattention, RBI Governor Raghuram Rajan said, while releasing the first bi-monthly monetary policy statement for 14-15. Instead of levying penal charges for non-maintenance of minimum balance in ordinary savings bank accounts, banks should limit services available on such accounts to those available in basic savings bank deposit accounts and restore the services when the balances improve to the minimum required level. Banks should also not levy penal charges if the minimum balance is not kept in any inoperative account. As you all know, the Banking Ombudsman for Maharashtra is also present here. The Banking Ombudsman scheme was instituted in the year 2005, and from the year 2006, the Reserve Bank has been responsible for the administration of the scheme, which looks at various deficiencies in services. And in 2006, its ambit was increased, enlarged to embrace deficiencies in internet banking. And we also have a customer services department. Mr. Kastricha, who is present with us today, heads that department with his entire team, which is also my team. But all the same, I will concede that though the necessary institutional arrangements for establishing standards and codes for banking services through the BCSBI and grievance redress through the ombudsman system are in place, all rules need objective, timely and fair implementation. So this also becomes very important to see how the shoe fits, and it's the wearer who knows exactly how deep each point goes. So here we have to be always very vigilant. The presence of a credible and effective regulatory regime acts as a source of confidence and comfort in the financial system and as a safeguard of financial stability. It helps to attract more participants to the marketplace. It makes the financial system inclusive and efficient. But there is much which a hands-on and intrusive regulator needs to do. As Governor Reddy expressed in our quote, banking is essentially a trust-based relationship, and the banking license from the regulator provides an assurance of trust to the public at large. To the banks, the banking license provides the privilege of accepting uncollateralized deposits from the public. However, the acts of stealth banking, negative option marketing, misleading advertisements, information gathering from customers for cross-selling of products and services and tie-up arrangements are inconsistent with the concept of a trust-based relationship. The lack of transparency coupled with the difficulty of consumers in identifying key information from the large volume of material and communication in fine print leads to an information asymmetry which makes the banker-customer relationship one of unequals. And in this context, I would go back to a well-known case which many of the activists here know, that is LIC of India versus Consumer Education and Research Center. So while considering the validity of LIC policy, which was restricted under Table 58 to salaried persons in government, semi-government or reputed commercial firms, the Supreme Court had observed that it is well settled law that if a contract or a clause in a contract is found unreasonable, unfair, irrational, one must look to the relative bargaining power of the contracting parties. So in any situation, the customer, there's an asymmetry of relationship. The financial services provider is stronger. And therefore, what must the stronger always do? Exploit or protect the weak. Protect the vulnerable consumers. See, all banks whether it's Punjab Cooperative Bank, State Bank of India, HDFC, HSBC, Yes Bank, they all offer the same products. They accept deposits, they provide credit, they provide remittance services, forex facilities, financial instruments. But what will distinguish one bank from the other, the only thing which will set apart one bank from the other is the quality of customer service rendered. Sadly, the friendly neighborhood banker is disappearing, as is the feet on street, ear to the ground banker. The distance between banks and customers is increasing. This is not a good thing. Earlier, the bank branch manager was a friend, philosopher, and guide. Today, he may not know the number of customers he has. Technology was a great thing. Technology helped in delivery processes and expedited everything. But technology also creates distance. It does revolutionize, but it creates challenges in terms of service quality, a non-human interface, and unsolicited marketing of products, ever-increasing fine print. All this is disagreeable if you compound it with the illiteracy of the average customer like myself. So, knowing your customer and understanding your own product offerings, and especially important for the frontline staff to be a little empathetic and understand the offerings becomes very important. And I would again like to quote a very old quote which everybody in this room knows, but very few people practice, and especially not the uber busy bankers. Let us remember Mahatma Gandhi, who said that a customer is the most important visitor on our premises. He is not dependent on us, we are dependent on him. He is not an interruption of our work, he is the purpose of it. He is not an outsider of our business, he is part of it. We are not doing him a favor by serving him. He is doing us a favor by giving us the opportunity to do so. Greater and repeated reminders of this adage are needed. There is a granularity of customers, and it is the poor customer who demands more empathetic and sympathetic attention, but who often gets shortchanged. My colleague Sri Ranjani has emphasized that I must talk about treating customers fairly. And Satish has also given me this input, that understanding of products and services, its costs and benefits, minimizing the sale of inappropriate products, transparent and non-discriminatory prices are very, very essential. And let me once again go back to Dr. Rajan, who on the FSLRC report at the SBI oration explained that in laying out the need for consumer protection, raising the issue of whether products sold are suitable for the targeted customer, and putting the onus on the financial institution to determine suitability, has forced regulators to review their consumer protection frameworks. We at the RBI are indeed engaged in such an exercise, and we have tried to evolve a draft charter of customer rights. Our rights are very simple. We have done this in consultation with eminent experts in the field. We've talked to All India Depositors Foundation. Ms. Dalal has given us very valuable inputs and other people. Now we've condensed this to 5 critical rights: the right to fair treatment, the right to transparency, fair and honest dealing, the right to suitability, the right to grievance redress and compensation. Now, I would really request you to go to our website. This is still open for public comment till 22nd September, and let us have your views also, because we want a consultative process, because what we are framing is something which will be there for you, me, the average Joe, and every and anybody. So it's important to apply ourselves a bit to it. Also, I feel that the time has come for us to now move to the principle of caveat vendita from the principle of caveat emptor. And this was also recommended in the Nachiket More Committee report. But when I look at the developments that are happening, I look at the ambitious Jan Dhan Yojana, the poor people who are going to be included, the need for customer protection gains even greater salience and traction. There is need for a customer protection regime where the provider is held accountable for the sources he sells to the borrower by ascertaining that the product sold or the advice given was suitable for the buyer. So once the rights are enshrined in the Charter of Customer Rights, and it is mandatory for banks to adhere to them, The framework of customer protection, I feel, will become much stronger. What we need are basically a greater degree of awareness and to understand that customer protection is essential both for all those of us who are literate and more so for those of us who are poor, uneducated, illiterate. With increasing complexity of banking and the chasm of the dangerous digital divide, this requires even greater salience. In this mission, the All India Bank Depositors Association, Moneylife, consumer activists, complainants, customer vigilantes all play a significant role because they provide valuable inputs to RDI in furthering our initiatives in the area of customer protection. What we need are not just collaboration and commitment, but credible action and concrete deliverables. Governor Rajan's 5-pillar financial sector blueprint will chart the direction of development of our financial system in years to come. Pillar 4 places a high priority in the consumer protection agenda. Among the areas of policy focus are the development of cost-efficient delivery channels as the payment banks and small banks that will enhance the outreach of financial services, expand the range of products and services to meet distinct financial needs of the underserved, and strengthen the institutional arrangements to enhance capacity of providers of such financial services. And equally important will be the attention accorded to financial consumer education and protection, in which the standards of consumer care are high, consumers have choices, and are confident about making financial decisions. Products, regulations, services are just not enough. Compliance is required. So monitoring and enforcing compliance with these rules, which is the regulators' dharma, is very important. And the challenge is always being prepared to challenge ourselves to get a better outcome for customers. As the old adage goes, in case of doubt, the customer is always right. And we should promote a customer-focused culture. I have titled this talk, Protecting Customers, Safeguarding Stability, as I think that the two are inalienable. There has to be a synergy between financial inclusion, literacy, and customer protection for sustainable financial stability. Appropriately, the All India Bank Depositors Association has selected Moneylife Foundation for this year's award for their zealous efforts and hard work in the area of customer protection. Inclusion, economic growth, and stability. These are the watchwords of the central bank. Today we are at an inflection point. We've gone some way, yet a lot needs to be done in this area. The Crusaders' work in the area of customer protection is never done. The bar of necessity we must always be raised high. So thank you for a patient hearing. And again, thanks to the All India Depositors Association for having me here today. Thank you.